Carmen, we've assembled a group of questions. We call them frequently asked questions, and we've putting this on our web page, and it's in different areas of the law. So why don't you go ahead and answer some of the frequently asked questions our clients ask us in connection with divorce, paternity actions, and separation.
Okay, sure thing. First question. What's the difference between a divorce and a legal separation?
Again, divorce is the mechanism everybody's aware of, and a divorce terminates the marital legal status between a man and a woman. And in that process, all issues involved in the marriage, whether it be custody, visitation, support issues, division of property, all that's handled in the divorce. Now, in the same form you use for a divorce, you have a box you can check off for a legal separation. It's almost antiquated now. A legal separation used to be utilized a lot in the past. A different culture, a different society. A lot of people, primarily for religious reasons, could not get a divorce, but they needed some kind of a livable status quo established. And so they used the status of legal separation to effect that. Legal separation, everything is divided between the parties. Courts makes orders on spousal support, division of property, but the parties are not divorced. Well, people don't do that anymore. The one time a legal separation is used, and listeners want to be aware of this, is if you come into California and you need some assistance from the family law courts. You need orders in custody, visitation, support, domestic violence. You can file a legal separation because you're not a resident of the state yet. So you use the mechanism of a legal separation in order to affect a status quo until you can qualify as a resident of the state, and then you can change your petition for legal separation to a petition for divorce.
Okay. How fast can someone be divorced?
People ask this a lot. 6 months, theoretically, and believe me, it's theoretical. You can be divorced 6 months from the date that you serve your other spouse with the divorce papers or you were served with the divorce papers, 6 months. Unless you and your spouse agree on a stipulated judgment, that's never going to happen. Just the realistic time frames of the courts aren't going to allow that. If you're getting divorced, even just a regular middle-class divorce, expect a year before you're going to get divorced.
Now, what about property? Can my spouse take me for all that I have?
You know, we listen to a lot of anxiety-ridden questions. That's an anxiety-ridden question. When people ask that, they're afraid. Courts are going to take from each of the spouses 1/2 of what the community possesses. So what can my wife take from me? 1/2 of all the community property. She can't take 60%. I can't rip her off and just have her take 30%. It's half and half. So don't be afraid of that. There's going to be an equal division of property.
Okay. What about children? Can the spouse take away children from one spouse to another?
Now, doesn't that sound like another anxiety-ridden question? Just think about it in terms of common sense. Courts are absolutely concerned about the children, and the person who truly has the right to visit with a parent is the child, not the parent. So courts view it that way. So no, your child's never going to be taken from you. Don't listen to anyone making threats unless there's something in the person's lifestyle that's going to make the court become very hesitant about dividing visitation as nearly as possible to 50-50.
Okay. What if, let's assume the divorce has been filed and I change my mind, can I stop the divorce?
Only if your spouse will agree to that. And a lot of clients on the other side of our cases, sometimes in our cases, want to stall. Courts don't allow that at all. They'll sanction you if you use stalling tactics, etc. But if both parties want to, the courts couldn't be happier.
Okay, what about my maiden name after the divorce or during the divorce? Can I get my name changed?
You can.
My maiden name?
Yeah, I'm sorry, you can. And it doesn't reflect badly on you one way or the other. And even if you go through the divorce and somehow you forgot to ask the court to change your name, there's a very simple form you can file with the court. After the divorce is even over, they'll give you your maiden name back.
Okay. When can my child decide who he or she wants to live with, mom or dad?
Never. Now, a lot of people are going to say, oh no, that's not true, it's the age of 14. The answer is the child can never determine for himself or herself who they're going to live with. The state of the law is, and just the state of how judges think, is that they want to take into account the desires of a child. Especially when you get up in those early teenage years, kids will get into trouble if the court isn't really listening to what he or she wants to do. So the answer is, don't get in this impression that you're going to just tell your kid and make promises. She's going to tell the judge, I want to go live with my mom or my dad. The court's going to say why, and they're going to explore that very carefully. So the real answer to the question is, your children will always have an influence on what the court does. And the older they get, the more important their desires will be. So that's a proper answer to that.
What about same-sex marriages? Are they treated the same as any other?
Exactly. And the same. You go to the same courtrooms. It's just become socially conditioned. People accept it, etc. You're not in any way prejudiced by it. You'll be treated just with all the respect or disrespect everyone else is treated with in courts.
Now, what is a dissomaster?
When I first became an attorney almost 40 years ago, the courts didn't have many guidelines by which to set child support, so different judges said it different ways. It was chaos. The California legislature came up with an algebraic formula which it reduced to a disk called dissomaster. And what dissomaster is a program in which you insert certain information into this program, and it'll spit out what a child support order should be and what a spousal support order should be. And they really take into account your income for the last 12 months, yes, including overtime, number of children, percentage of visitation, and they'll set a child support order that way. A spousal support order is a bit different.
Okay, and how is a spousal support order made?
You know, when you file for divorce, there's a simple process in terms of what you proceed to. You can just file your petition, the other party files their response, and then you just set a trial date, which you'll get 6, 7, 8, 9 months in the future. Well, if you need some support before that 6, 7, 8 months in the future, you can file what's called a request for order. I always tell my clients, just think of it as a mini trial, not the final trial, a mini trial. Well, at that time, if you ask for spousal support at a mini trial because you can't wait all these months into the future to get support, the courts will use the exact same program they use for child support. At the time of trial, they throw that away and they take a look at what your lifestyle is. And generally, your spousal support order at the time of trial is less than the spousal support order you would get by the dissomaster at this mini trial I've spoken of.
Okay. What's the difference between a judge and a commissioner?
You know, none. To the average person, you wouldn't even know. He or she will have their black robe on. It will have the term commissioner under his or her name as opposed to judge. The difference really between the two is a judge is elected and commissioners appointed by judges to assist them. A lot of the family law courts are staffed by commissioners. Difference with a commissioner is you never have to stipulate to a commissioner. If you don't want to stipulate to this commissioner, they'll send you to another commissioner. If you don't want to stipulate to them, they'll send you to a judge. You can only object to one judge once. But as a practical matter, they're both just as good. It's what kind of commissioner is that commissioner and what kind of a judge is that judge. That's what's important to know.
And my last question that we often get, should I hire an attorney?
That's an honest question, and I actually like it when clients ask that. I also like it when they ask us about money, because then they're serious. I tell a person should you hire an attorney? I tell them, first of all, it's a self-interested response on my part, so just filter whatever I say thinking that. But how would you approach a situation if you had a problem with your car? Well, if you're an auto mechanic, why in the world would you hire another auto mechanic to do your job for you? An answer might be, one, yeah, I'm an auto mechanic, but I don't have the time to handle my own car. Then you have to hire another auto mechanic. And most people, of course, don't have any knowledge of what's going on in the divorce court, so they really have to hire an attorney. And we invite people to take a look at our webpage, which is schusterlawgroup.com. Go to the home page and just click on at the top a tab called Legal Menus, and it's really our approach to the public on how you can finance.
Here at Schuster Law Group, our mission is to take a genuine interest in our clients, understand their objectives, and meet or exceed their expectations. So call now, 562-464-5600. 3764 and visit our website at www.schusterlawgroup.com.